Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. You have a talk about this, for introducing for the company bond right here, and I went and drew this sketch right here using the Photoshop work right here, just to draw on some of the color details right here, that make this look a little bit like a theme right here. And with this theme right here is like if it's supposed to be anything that looks something a little bit more like like the living room or maybe a bedroom or something like that. That for work there at the house where I used to live at also. And but talk about right here of like from back in 1988 that I know that a lot of my what you call that for what I used to like to do in my bedroom, and as well as for what you call hanging out, stuff that I like to do as well. And but you see right here is that one of the reasons why I want to do this activity right here is talk about like for bonds, and then independent, and then as well as for company. So if anybody warns that that if you're going to have anybody that's going to maybe be asking you about as toward that back whenever you were young, that they would ask you something like what do you plan on being, what do you want to be whenever you grow up, and then by the time you grow up, and then to think about is to where that you want to get into a career study. And then sometimes it seems like it's to where that you work real hard and find out as to where any job opportunities that do come up. And let's just say that if you do wind up working for a company that pays good, and as well as that you're able to where that you're able to they're able to introduce you to some new stuff, and some new computerware or something like that. But the very first I want to mention anybody here is here's a television set right here. So if anybody warns is that that if we're going to have it to where like a television set, and with this television set is I the way I put this together using Photoshop right here is to where that it's like a bond. And for anybody that if you're going to be what you call anything about what you call how well you get along with the products and services that you use on a daily basis if you're going to be working a job. And let's just say this was right here was me right here sitting on the couch, and taking place from back in 1988. And if anybody warns us that that was about maybe you would have been about 4 years old. And I know in this picture right here that I look like maybe I'm at least maybe about 12, 13, something like that years old. But for anything that could be watched on TV especially. And I don't know if anybody has that experience as they whenever they're watching TV that they would say something on TV such as have you tried this? Something like that, product that they were talking about, or maybe a cooking ware, or maybe anything about a company that introducing this or introducing that product. And I while I was drawing this right here, this sketch right here of me, that it came to mind for about a television set. So if anybody warns us that the television set, that have right here is that this right here would be like a green background, but you would see right here is like talk about from back in 1988. Back in 1988, I would have probably been see here. I would have been about about four, I think something like that, 4 or 5 years old. And then if I can remember right, that I was just starting kindergarten during that time. And anybody say that you like spending time in your bedroom a lot. And then you have right here's a television, you have right here for Bob Ross. And if anybody warns is that that Bob Ross for Channel 9. And I didn't include the time on there, but I wanted to talk about this mainly because it's like to where that whenever he would come on, especially during the weekends, between 10 and 11 o'clock, Central Time. It's like between Eastern Time and Central Time. Back in those days that he would come on, and then he would talk to you about a painting that he was working on, and he would be painting, like landscapes, and as well as different other sorts of landscape, different portraits and stuff like that. But different other paintings. But I know a couple of episodes to where he would be painting the cabin as well as the mountains, and then a few other sorts of scenery paintings. But while I was watching him, I was just thinking about as to where from back in 1988 is to where you watch TV a lot and think as to where that really about who would really be interested in any career is toward that anything that you do on a daily basis that uses your mind. If I can call it the mind, is to where it uses the brain, because I know with me though that with my artistic skills that I keep that goes toward it. Yeah, for anybody say that you may use your imagination almost every day, right, on a daily basis, but you weren't toward it. How many times do you say see what you imagine? And one of those would be toward that if you see a rainbow in the sky or something or anything about it, toward you're going to use your imagination for anything that you see on the television. And so you have right here is a TV right here. And I can tell anybody here that a TV was what you call my source of entertainment for a while. I didn't get my own until I was about 13, about 12. I was about 10 years old. I was about 10 years old, something like that, whenever I got my own TV in my own bedroom. But we were sharing the living room TV there for a while. It's like you have right here is a table right here where the TV would be set up at, and have right here, like this right here will be a place right here where maybe a VCR and then maybe a DVD player can go at, and then nowadays with entertainment centers nowadays. But talk about for like a company though, if anybody warns, is that you have right here between canceled and postponed or delayed and rescheduled. And what does it usually mean? It's like, for say, when something's canceled or postponed or delayed and then rescheduled. Is that there's a number of things. Is that something that had to be postponed for later on, or if it's able to get anything to where that meetings that you were going to, or maybe events that you plan on attending. I know between January and March that if there's like maybe an art festival around town or something like that, or maybe a meeting that you were planning on going to, then you may have had to postpone that just to take care of something, or if you were not able to attend right away. But still, that for anything that you see on TV, that if it's going to be season 1 or 2, or if it's going to be episodes or something like that, you watch TV programs, and some of them that you may hear about is to where if some of them they wind up getting postponed or delayed, and then canceled later on also. And but you have right here, and say for any television, and I know that the television would be the source of entertainment, but mainly it was like the coloring books, but still though that back before I even had I could afford a computer that like had the TV and then a radio and then as well as the coloring books. But have right here's the remote control, and I had this right here for like questions to where that you start talking about something, and then after about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then somebody's like, yeah, that you may mention before, you may have heard that before, to where there's no such thing as a stupid question, huh? But still, that if there's a situation to where that somebody wants to ask a question just to kind of give the person a hard time or just to aggravate, and one of those will be to where that SK, I have a question. Okay, well, what angle about what the TV antenna you have right here is a TV antenna. And I drew that TV antenna in there, so that way there's knowing about it from back in 1988 that like most TVs was like run by analog, to where you could be able to pick up about at least 5 or maybe 6 or 7 channels at the most. And for like channel 9, if anybody can remember about any of those other local channels that would be broadcast and that would come on during those times, and you're like warrant toward it. That back in those days, that I guess they didn't really have anything like the Disney Channel or Discovery or Home and Garden Channel. So you're going to have channels as to where that back in those days that you only had about maybe 5 of them to watch, and then you had to wait until a certain time in the morning or evening whenever a show came on. And with like Bob Ross would come on for about a half an hour just to be able to paint something, and then they'll go to another TV series, but still, though, I have right here is the television right here. And if anybody wonders that has anybody asked you about is to where that, hey, that, where's the remote control to the table legs or something like that, or maybe any other source of question. And it's like, think about it, to where you start talking about something and like place the TV antenna right here, and then go to the power switch, and then on a remote control, and then connect it to wiring, and then make sure that the switches and then the connector jacks are connected correctly on the back, and then make sure it's all positioned safely, and then plug it in, and you'll be able to watch TV. And if somebody were to maybe ask questions to her, excuse me, so I have another question. How come that the record button is not available on the remote control, or maybe that it could be maybe because if there's a ceiling fan in the room, is like wonder how come that the remote control don't power the ceiling fan, or maybe something about is to where that about the table legs that let's just say that if anybody say that if you were to fall in love with the table legs, and more likely the chances are that you built the table, or you put the table together and then you were able to assemble it just to be able to set the TV up, stand up like that, and include these math problems right here too. You have right here for 9 by 9, and then the 9 equals a 0, and then for try. So if anybody wants to see those TV programs, is toward it if there's going to be maybe a commercial or an advertisement on TV, that they may see that, and then they may ask you to the TV viewers, have you tried that? So it's like exactly that they would mention something about us to where, have you tried that? Well, you can go and try, like I think, they would say something about, free trial or something like that, risk, a 30-day or so trial period or something like that, to where that they would allow you to try it before you buy it or something like that. But still, though, that sometimes it seems like to where that anything that you're going to be watching on TV and get you some ideas, and you're like Warren, to where that we may have seen a number of things on TV. If it's a first aid kit, or maybe if it's anything about maybe anything related to maybe kitchen or home appliance repair kits, or maybe anything related to the car, or maybe cleaning cleansers or something like that, that it will give you an idea about really about what's what's available in the country or so, and it's like what's available for market. And still, though, that whenever we watch TV also, but I can remember back in those days that anybody say this, to where if you can discover more channels, and then maybe people would want to come to your room and watch TV. So that's just the thing, though, is that with me, though, from back in 1988, that if you sometimes is to where if you want to talk to people and maybe coming into your room and then checking out your toys, or maybe you want to show them something, a lot of times you say you ask maybe the parent or anybody if they can come into your room and you want to show them something, and it's like, well, what's it all about? Is it about your grade report, or is it a letter from school or something like that? And if I can remember right, I think once or twice it may have been about maybe from the school or something like that. But still, though, that I a couple of times it was related to the television set. But on the other hand, and knowing about his tour, that if anybody warns us that for anything from back in 1988, that anybody that may think about his tour, anybody that you think that they will be proud of you just for what you call getting that arranged, or maybe that it says you figure it out how to you figured out how to use this or use that, and I don't know how many of us have been in that situation to where that they're trying to figure out how to make a phone call. You're getting this specific training about how to order something, or maybe from a catalog, or maybe that you get information. I'm like, that maybe the parents may have asked you at some point to where that that they were looking for earlier, that they were trying to find something from earlier, and it came to the child's mind, and the son's mind, and then they say is where they look it up maybe in the phone book, and you want to maybe help them out with whatever information that they need to collect also. And so I keep thinking about it, to where if anybody wonders, is that for how do we explain about where our career started. And I'd probably say, but back when I was about 4 or 5, and anything about which call uses my imagination, use my creativity. And I can also say it's like for anything about independent, and then for company right here. And So this right here will be like a theme right here. And while I was doing some Photoshop work right here, I was also thinking about this to where it looks pretty confusing, because I know that you could have maybe added in maybe a few other toys that you used to play with whenever you were very young, toy trucks and cars, or maybe a puzzle that you may have been working on maybe in the background. But still, though, that I know with my busy schedule too that I've been busy with, but I just mainly want to include, like, the television set, and then have right here some math problems right here, and then for talk about for 1988, and especially around Easter time that I mainly want to talk about, about like a company, like a business card. If anybody say if there would like a show and tell event going on at the school, then it's like you show them a business card, and that, yeah, how many people are going to want to look at a business card if you work for any source of company? And then it's like, say, yeah, that for any source of a card that talks about for what you do there at the company, and then for your response, for your, I guess if you want to call it that the for what you're responsible for on a job, especially. And but anyway, but you see right here is I would include right here are some this right here, but I say for try, and then for like this math problem right here, and for independent, and then for company, and you have right here is a table right here. You have right here is this power connector, so that I know that if anybody were warrant toward it, they, like you have a TV. Set up in the bedroom or somewhere, and then they may ask us to where you got room right here. How come you didn't add like maybe an extra counter space right here to where you can be able to put a VCR right down here? Or I'm like, yeah, if anybody say, yeah, zoom in a little bit right here. But still, though, that whenever you show somebody something, it seems like that they want to ask questions, and one of those questions could be as to where, okay, yeah, does it have a remote control? Oh, okay, well, and so if anybody wanted to, if they were to come up with the tease, one of those teases will be used to, yeah, of a button you can push on a remote control that can change the subject, or maybe about that can, maybe change the picture to black and white or something like that, and so it's like, say that, yeah, that whenever a remote control to the television set was first introduced, that I'm thinking that it was probably about early of 1987 that it was, but the VCRs back in those days, maybe about maybe 1983, something like that, whenever they were first introduced, and it's like they're good. I think that there was a cord or something like that, connector cord that came with it, but still, though, that any source of control to where you have with the TV, and nowadays with art, though, is to where that for how we're able to draw and demonstrate about you for what we picture, like, say, yeah, anything that you want to think about, you want to go and draw a theme and draw it on blank page, and then explain to anybody about what's on your mind, and then anything that you can think about that they would be interested in. And so this was right here was supposed to be like a theme right here, and like a theme, I guess, would include like a person, and then for what's going on in the picture, and then for anything exciting, and then anything about maybe instructions also. And how many of us are going to maybe think as toward it? If this is supposed to be like maybe like a guide right here to where that. If you were to actually take everything down off the table and say, have right here's a TV, and then and if you want to add anything else, well, we would see on those instruction manuals also. But have right here's a TV, and like with anybody that may say to where like whenever the TVs nowadays that they say that, yeah, that they may not seem so complicated, but still that. I guess like Channel 9, I converted to Channel 9 where Bob Ross came on, but nowadays, but they got the digital, the high definition television sets that they may go by, different channels, a little bit more. But anyway, but you have right here for like you talk about for independent learning, and for anything about what you're willing to come up with, at your own time, and is think about from back in 1988, that if you would have had anything that you want to share with anybody, that what do you think it would be? And Anybody say, and then they start asking questions, and then it's like, yeah, that one of those questions would be as to where that the first question, yeah, that does the TV take batteries? No, unfortunately, it don't. Does the antenna take batteries? Uh, Depending on what kind you get. And I'm like, hey, I have another question. Can you adjust the picture? So sometimes it seems like a story. Yeah, you come up to those moments as to where after you start talking for about 10 or 15 minutes about something, and then the questions start coming, and then so sometimes it's like, yeah, I guess sometimes at those meetings, especially in those meetings, as to where if there's nobody who has any questions, it's like that. Do they have anything? Does that mean that they don't have anything to say, or nothing that they're really concerned about, or that you're like, okay, whatever. Well, we're not interested. Whichever the situation it could be. But talk about right here for like for any television sets that I remember sharing the family TV there those couple of times. Any cartoons like the Ninja Turtles and as well as the Mighty Ducks. They would come on an early Saturday morning as well. The Three Stooges. All those other TV series that would come on. And like for Bob Ross, you would come on, and so if anybody warns us that, yeah, that how many of us are going to maybe think as to where you're going to have a remote control to the television set? And I remember this. I can remember thinking about this as to where that I wonder if they make them to television sets that have a built-in VCR. And I remember I seen them before, but I never bothered to buy one and couldn't afford one. They were about $200 or $300 or something like that. Just for a TV. I think you say combo where you had the VCR built in, and I don't know. I'm like, nowadays with television sets nowadays that you can buy them, that I think you can maybe connect to the internet and stream. To live streaming on videos or something like that, but still, that nowadays it seems like as to where that whenever you first start talking about something, but still that how many of us are going to think about as to where that somebody starts asking you questions, and it seems like they just want to ask just to be annoying or whichever, or maybe just to kind of aggravate you and just say, oh, I'm just kidding or something, or maybe if they just don't know about it too much, but still, that for being a designer like me, that people would maybe ask me more questions about my art, that a few things that are missing also. And I know, like, the instructors, if this was supposed to be like an English project, and they may ask us to where to please include one theme of your story. And let's just say if I were to be writing if it was poetry or if it was like a poem that I start talking about, somebody who was like spending a lot of time in the living room watching TV, and maybe they would have pizza night, and they would be watching for a couple of minutes to maybe an hour, and then have a remote control right here, and then they may start mentioning about this to where that what is the TV? What is the table made out of? I'm like, you have right here this red stuff. Is that supposed to be paint, or is that just supposed to be what you call just the hammer and nail or something like that? What was used was just to be able to put that together. And then you have right here is to where this television right here. This television you have right here is the cord. I've used many a television sets before, and I can probably say is to where, especially if it's going to be a 19-inch, where's the television? Where's the TV guide? And then on your hand too, if there's any speakers that come along with it, and as well as that if there's anything about this tour that anything else that we maybe see right next to the TV also. What about the cable TV? Where's the converter box? And so it seems like as to where that anything that I'm going to be drawing that maybe somebody's going to ask is to where how come they don't see that in the picture? And it's like, really that just to kind of get an idea here as to where what I really mainly want to talk about is to where that anything about for what I do as a designer is toward this story right here. And anybody that says toward by the time that they get the basic idea about, oh, okay, I understand a little bit more of the story. Well, that's interesting. But and then they start asking other questions, and I would think that maybe they would ask to include the remote control. But yeah, if anybody were to say is toward that whenever they were first introduced to the television sets from back in 1957 or something like that, and that when color televisions were first introduced, that they were asking questions also, but it's like one of those questions that maybe somebody could be used to, well, how much would it be just to be able to get one of those sets? And then they can maybe ask a question such as to where that, well, is the TV compact? And, how come that we can't locate the switch to the table legs on the remote control? And you're like, Warren, to where that there is no switch to the table legs. And then on your hand too, yeah, that on right here, there's like it looks like here there's a few buttons right here. Which button I would like to know. I'm like, which button can you really set is toward that a channel straight like a channel to where that you would be able to control program the TV to where that it would remind you. It would be like maybe a TV reminder to where what time it was whenever the TV came on. How come I don't see that option available on the remote control? Like, well, it usually comes with the standard features. Like, what standard features? The standard features, the standard features that more likely they came on the TV guide. And so you're going to maybe have some customers that are going to maybe be asking questions about that. And sometimes it seems like, what's the first thing that they may ask about whenever it comes to maybe learn how to use the TV, or maybe putting the table together, or maybe building a table, or maybe figuring out how the connectors work and how the remote works, and let's just say that they ask you maybe if it's an English project to include some picture drawings of what you're talking about, and then there's somebody that may ask a question that may not be what you caused to her, that that just to be annoying, or if you want to cause to her just to ask, just to see what you say. And so I don't know if anybody has come to those moments as to where that really that somebody asks you a question, and then you have that look on your face, that look on your eyes, and they're like saying to her that they have that look. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, we'll go and ask him and see what he says. We'll go ahead and ask him anyway. But how old were you whenever you first were doing this, and what exactly were you doing on the couch there, and then what were you thinking about whenever you first heard the news about this or that, and were you working at any coloring books while you were watching television? Were you watching the game while you heard the news or something like that, or could you maybe on a television set, nowadays. With our TVs nowadays, you have right here is a big screen. Can you watch two different networks at the same time? And on your hand, can you maybe get some 3D motion pictures going on a television set? Because maybe I like to see that too. And it's like, I am not an expert, and I don't know why you're asking me. Well, I just thought about knowing about what you would have to say about it. You say, what do you have to say, Matthew? What do I have to say? Well, other than is toward it, there's something more about it other than just leaving it in the box, okay? Some people that may say is toward that, whenever you buy a television set, that some that may just leave it in a box, maybe for a reason, and maybe that what's the first thing that they may look at whenever they're trying to get the TV? They're going to maybe look at to where that that they want to locate where the plug is, or that they want to maybe find out as to where do you want to put the TV, and then that they want to look at the manual, and then they're going to maybe worry about how many channels does the television pick up. But still, though, that how many of us, when we watch TV, how many of us are really going to think about this math problem right here? And you think about educational reasons, and they may say is toward it, whenever you watch TV, how many of us are going to watch those commercials, maybe if it's the restaurants or something about, for try this, hey, have you tried this, or hey, have you tried that, and so it's like, really, that from back in 1988, that they may warn us as toward, maybe the parents may not know too much about it, but let's go ahead and ask the son, maybe the cousin or somebody like that, or anybody, friends or family or anybody that may know a little bit more about it. And you're like Lauren Tor that you feel like telling them if they ask a few questions, and it's like, what is in it for me? What's in it for me, really? But still, that for anything about what you feel confident with, but you see right here, yeah, for 1988 right there, and then if anybody wore warrant to where it have right here is for the green background and the television set. So I drew this as that this was supposed to be like a theme, like if I were in my bedroom, and a couple of times when I was a kid, I remember sleeping on the couch back when I was young. Yeah, and I can tell anybody here that during that time that I was scared to sleep in my own bedroom. It's like during that time, it's like, but still that. If anybody warns if you're going to be having any bad dreams, or just, for whatever reason, you just thought that the couch was more comfortable or something, but still, or maybe the TV was in the living room or something until you got your own TV in your own bedroom. But how many of us are going to remember about how many people would want to come into your bedroom more often? And let's just say that if you were to gotten your own telephone, if you would have gotten your own telephone, or maybe a globe that you kept in your bedroom a lot of times, that if you're going to have a few friends over, that you're going to maybe want to buy something to put in your bedroom. Maybe a lava lamp, or maybe if it's anything, maybe a glow-in-the-dark alarm clock, or maybe like a little tent kit, or maybe Lincoln Logs or Legos or anything like that. Anything that you're going to have in your bedroom, and you're going to maybe if it's going to be a weekend that you're going to have a few friends over, and you're just going to think about it to where that you want to show them something or talk to them. Hey, I want to show you something that's in my bedroom. And sometimes, though, a couple of times, it seems like it happens as to where that that if you're gonna in your bedroom, that you're gonna invite anybody to come into your bedroom, if it's gonna be maybe a puzzle or something that you have in your bedroom. And just think about it, to where whenever you're a kid and you're gonna have company over, that what's the reason to why you want to talk to somebody and to come into your bedroom, or maybe to look at something. And I guess it's all about us toward it. Look, this is what I learned, or this is what I figured out. And so really that for anything about what you call, for bonding with the work especially. And what does bond usually mean is toward it, toward it that you're able to get that to anything that you're going to be working with on a daily basis, is to where it don't bother you as much compared. It's like for whenever you bond with it. Whenever you bond with it, it seemed like it don't really bother you as much as it did before. And to where anything that like anything about what you call respects, and respecting and the rights and then responsibilities also. And so it seems like to where that whenever you bond with something, it seems like to where that that it basically means is to where that it can maybe mean a number of things. Problems fixed, or maybe that it really don't bother you too much, or it really don't hurt too much as it used to, or something like that. And so that's just a thing that with anything related to entertainment, any source of working the math homework and then learning things independently, and then for like a company card. But still, though, for anything about your job especially, that if anybody warns is that that if you were to actually draw a theme about what you could be doing, if you have like your own office, your future job, you have an office, or you have a laptop or something that you're going to be using while you're at work. And then just think about it, to where people are going to maybe be asking you questions about that. And the type of stuff, your salary pay, the income, the source of income that you got coming in, that type of stuff. But also you have I always also think about this right here, is to where that with the television set, though, that the way I drew this, that I could have maybe added in some more details, like almost always, is to where that really, if anybody says to where, hey, that's all you got. But talk about for 1988, that whenever I first got interested in doing art stuff, because before I was into carpentry work, I was into driving, and of course carpentry work, and and flying also, you'll want to get a pilot license at one time too, but still that any sorts of careers that you get interested in, like for carpentry work. And like with anybody that for anything, any sorts of jobs that you do wind up working, during your teenage years and during your adult years, and just think about it to where that the very first job that you thought that you were going to get, maybe shoveling snow or maybe doing gardening work, but then it winds up turning out to be at a restaurant, or maybe maybe get into marketing or something like that, or maybe about paintings and that. Like say, yeah, if you're going to maybe be a manager at some store or somewhere like that, and so that's just the thing about it, to where, for anything about what you call pre-order management or something like that. But still, though, that if this was displayed in up there at the school, if this was supposed to be like a work of art right here, maybe if it was put together, maybe in like a mosaic, type work right here, then people may wonder or know about the artist's name, and they may wonder just a little bit about that, as to where that anything about for what you do on a daily basis, and just think about it, to where that if you could promote your work, and it's like, well, I don't really know about anything else for what you can do with it, other than if it's going to be displayed. Maybe in the hallways or maybe in the classrooms, but if anybody warns us that they want to see like a 3D look on there, or they want to see some special effects on this painting here. And so that's just the thing that I'm sure most of us have seen some of those paper examples of anything laminated on like two pieces of a plastic that there are melt. I guess if you say they're melted together, just to be laminated. If you're going to have anything laminated, and so that's just the thing about anything about lamination or printing. If you're going to be working in a printing business also, and so have right here, and if anybody say, yeah, after you start talking about something for for a few minutes or so, and you're like, say, his story, it's like, yeah, any questions? Yeah, why was the TV series canceled? And by the way, is to where that when was the company found? And then on your hand too, I'm getting a different mathematical type right. You have it here for 9 by 9 right here. And so that's just a thing, is to where that if anybody warns is that at the time that whenever people ask questions, it's like, do you think is to where that maybe is to where, well, I'm not talking to you, I was talking to this person, or yeah, I'm asking this person, but still though that I have kept thinking about, is to where that for any questions that anybody that could ask, and sometimes is to where that at the time I do one or two, is to where, yeah, about any questions that remain, and they may say, is to where, well, I think most of us I think that we all believe that this question is related to you. I'm like, yeah, to Matthew right here. I'm like, yeah, anything about television, and want to know. I'm like, yeah, you may have gotten your own back whenever you were about 10 years old, and we're warned where that any of your favorite TV programs, right? Did you get any ideas about any artistic drawings back whenever you were very young that, drawing a few circles and squares, and did you give it a name? Like, well, I remember the circles and squares. The square was my favorite shape, it was, and just think about it, to where it just kind of experiment around with the shapes, because whenever I would draw it, and then I decided I see how far I came for whenever I would try something, or if I would try to learn it at my own time, and then by the time I spend a few minutes just to try to figure it out, and then that's whenever that I was able to come up with something. And what is this something? Well, if anything, I could have maybe like it could have been something that I colored, or maybe if I decided to do maybe an activity about it. And then the next question could be, is to where, with a few shapes and stars, and maybe spiral diamonds or anything like that, or maybe if it's anything related to anything creative, that we weren't, where that anything that's that's going to be what you call on hosting a live TV. And have you ever thought about being on TV one of these days? Yeah, I have, but I didn't think that it was really going to happen one of these days because, well, I'm like, think about it, Tori. Yeah, that, anybody probably say the number of times that you watch TV and just thinking about it, Tori, that you thought that maybe that you would want to be on TV. Anybody say, yeah. You've been on video a number of times, on a camcorder, on a video camera, but you're like worried toward it, what people would think that if they see you on TV, on live TV, I'm like, on a certain channel, and you're like worried to where, they say about, well, what do you think that you would be talking about? Really about maybe what themes mean, or what your art, your work means, about the basics about using your digital skill, to the audiences especially. But anyway, for maybe safety wise, and I'd like to teach our kids and anybody who's watching, the basic lessons and skills about, this is how this works, and be careful, safety first, stuff like that. But anyway, but talk about for 1988, at the bottom right here, and talking about is toward it, anything about learning, independently, and here for the company right here. And then thanks for watching, everyone. Management 25, and thanks, and have a great day.